Hey, welcome everyone. It's Casual Friday again, and we're going to get this show on the road. Now, before I start, could anybody chat in the chat line there and just say, hey, you can hear me? And just want to make sure that my voice levels looks like they're a little high. I'll just turn that down just a little bit. Might be a little high. But just in the comments, just key in there, you can hear me, you can see me, and everything is looking good, and we'll get this thing underway. Now, before we get started, let's throw some Christmas lights on. And we've got an elf on the shelf. Maybe a little bit of Christmas music. How about that even? Do I have any Christmas? There we go. I'll turn it down just a little bit. All right, well, hopefully you had a great week. Hopefully you got unscathed for all the stuff that's been going on in the world, and maybe you've even got close to getting your Christmas shopping done. Who knows, right? I know I haven't. I've still got, thank goodness for Amazon. Thank goodness for Amazon. If it wasn't for Amazon, I'd be in big trouble. Big trouble. Jason, welcome. Welcome. Yeah, so today we're gonna cover a few things that maybe you don't know about ACT, and we're gonna kind of throw those on the table here. These are some requests that came up. We're gonna be talking about next week, just so we can kind of do a kind of a gamut of what's going to happen next week. Next week will be our last one for December, and next week we're going to be talking about online calendaring and pulling online calendaring into your ACT database. And this is kind of a prep for the new year. And so there's a couple that we've tested out and that we found that are not too bad. I don't know if that music's a little too loud or not. So we've tested, there's about 3 of them that we've tested out, and we want to kind of give you a review. And if you're the type of person that wants to put it, either you can use it for a lot of different areas. You can use it for sales, you can use it for support, you can use it for technical services, administration, and so you can put it right in your subject line and people can book appointments with you. And so we're going to show you a couple of those different ones next week. So that'll be next week. In the new year, we've got some interviews lined up, and that's going to be kind of fun because I'll bring on some other guests, and we'll talk about ACT, we'll talk about business, we'll talk about all sorts of things. One of the ones I'm bringing in Dr. Linda Codner, who is a pharmacist as well as a naturopathic doctor. And we're going to talk about stress. How do we deal with the stress? Now, maybe I should have brought this in before we actually got into the midst of December and the stress of Christmas shopping and all that stuff, but maybe we need it afterwards too. So anyways, we've got her booked. We've got a couple of other people booked, and we're looking forward to bringing them on and bringing some stuff to you guys and to me that will help us maybe get to that next level in whatever it is, right? All right, so as we are, let's see here. Now, I didn't really set a timetable for this. We'll be here till we'll be here. I'll cover a few things. Ask questions. This, I know that the client base that we have, that the people that most of the people are on here are probably they're not the young people who just love to chat. They're in there and they're just go ahead and chat. We're a little bit reserved that way. Could be because we're a little shy. Maybe it's because we're older and can't type worth spit. I don't know what it is, but ask some questions. And if you've got something that's been, you've been thinking about around ACT, and you're thinking, how do they do that? Or what about this? Or can they do this? That's another good question. Can it do this? Throw it on the board, and we'll see if we can answer some questions. So we've got a few things that we're going to cover today, this afternoon here, and we'll move from there. All right, let me move over to our ACT screen. All right. Oh, I got to show you this. I made this little. You can see the little. I made a snow globe. Do you see the snow globe? I made a snow globe. Now, what's a snow globe without snow? There we go. We got some snow. We got a snow globe. The things you can do. Who would have thought of it, right? All right. Well, we'll leave the snow on and the snow globe for a few minutes here while we kind of dive into this. So the first thing that I want to if this is annoying, tell me if this snow is annoying. Let me know and I'll get rid of it. One of the things that came up was Outlook. We've got some people that they maybe are not on the latest version of ACT. Version 24 is the latest version of ACT. They've done a bunch of changes to the interface between ACT and Office, specifically Office 2016 and 2019, or if you're on Office 365, the latest updates that you may have. Now, if you've got version 21, version 20, version 22, and some of you may have some issues with emails attaching, and all of a sudden it was attaching and now it's not attaching, and you're going, what the heck? And you're calling technical support up, and one of our guys is helping you out with that, and it's a little bit of a pain in the butt. I totally get it. Totally understand. I had that problem myself. I actually used a third-party software for a time when I was on 21, I believe it was, because I just couldn't get emails to attach. And so this has been a little bane of existence, one of those pains in the butts for all of us, not just you guys, but for me, for some people. And it's funny because we have some people who have no problems, their whole company, no problems. And then you'll have a company that you'll get 1 or 2 people, or maybe 50% of the people. It's really random, and it's like finding a needle in a haystack to figure out, well, what gives? So what they did is they totally rebuilt this, and the biggest part of the problem was Microsoft kept changing some of the protocols, and anytime you got an update, guess what? Something would throw it off, and it would throw it off for some people and not for others. So they totally rebuilt that. I found the new one to be very stable, and it works really fine. There are some people that have, I shouldn't say some, there's one person that I know of that is still having problems with 22, but it has to do with a virus software that they're using. Now, if you're using Sophos as a virus software, you might want to consider, it's a great virus software, but I'll tell you, it stops so many different applications, not just ACT, other applications from performing at their peak. And so if you're using Sophos, recommend you look at something else. We've had to, on some of our clients, turn Sophos right off, or at least have them turn Sophos right off. Even if you usually put exceptions in, and there's a list of exceptions that you can put in in your virus software malware, there's exceptions where it says, okay, if you're using ACT, just don't grab ACT. If any ACT is doing anything, just leave it alone. And that works for probably 99% of the virus softwares. There are a few where you throw exceptions in, and there still acts a little goofy. So think of your virus software as the border between Canada and the United States. And when you put the exceptions in, for about that 98%, 99%, it's like a free pass. It's like, you just drive by, you flip up your card, and away you go. There's no stopping. But for the other 1% or 2%, it's like every time you go, and especially if you don't have the exceptions, it could be just about all virus software. It's like going across the border, and you could be there for 10 minutes, you could be there for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. It's one of those things. So you want to have those exceptions so you can get back and forth, and that will increase your productivity in your performance of your ACT, but also it does affect your Outlook integration, or your Office integration, specifically with Outlook. All right, let's kind of dive into here. Let me show you, my screen's over here. Let me show you, let me get rid of that. Let me show you some of the settings that you can do. And there's 2 places you can do settings. One is in ACT, and the other one is actually in Outlook. Now, I'm not using the latest build of Outlook. I'll have to do next week. I'll show you that latest build of Outlook, because they've changed some stuff. And so, oh yeah, Richard, if you're, and thanks, yeah, keep putting stuff in. If Sophos is in there and you've got it working, fantastic. But if you're running into weird anomalies with ACT, we found it in just about every installation of Sophos. Now, that's not every installation, but just about all. So, Richard, if it's working good for you, thumbs up. Let me know what you guys did to make it work. But you may be one of those people that it just doesn't affect, which is fantastic. Having said that, and feedback is good, and any information that you've tested and found out to make things work, let us know. We'll share it with everyone. All right, so let's go into some settings in ACT first, and then we're going to go into some settings in Outlook. All right, so first of all, Tools, and then you're going to go down to Preferences. All right, so once we're in Preferences, we're going to click on ACT Outlook Email Sync. Now, I'm not going to get into this Outlook synchronization. We're going to touch a little bit on that next week when we get into the online calendaring, because some of them require that. But we're going to go into Email System Setup. All right, so you're going to get your little wizard here. And we're going to go Next. And we're connected to Outlook, obviously. And then, now I've got a couple of databases here, and I'm going to blow these away because I was doing some demos previously on different demos. And now I want to make sure I'm on the right one. Actually, with version 24, you can actually have more than one in here now, one database. So you can flip back and forth between the databases. We'll go into that at another time. But you'll see that the main or the default one is the ACT24 demo, and I believe that is what we're on. Yeah, advisor_demo_24. So we're on the right database. That's cool. We're going to go Next. And email editor, this is, we're not going to touch that. And then what we're going to go into here is, first of all, it's recording histories. So you have different ways of recording histories. You've got, now, let me just go back. One of the fixes, if you're running into a few snags, one of the fixes, I'm not going to show you all of them because Matt's got his little toolbox of things. I'm going to turn that snow off because it's kind of bugging me. There we go. Matt's got a little things in his toolbox that he uses to fix stuff that I'm not aware of, and I'm not in support, so I don't keep up with that stuff, and I'm happy to leave that to them. So one of the fixes I do know is to remove these, then go and add it back again. Because whatever database you're on, that's going to be the one that goes into. And it's going to tell you to make changes will not take effect till you restart Outlook. And that's fine. Next. Now, when it comes to attachments, you've got 4 different ways. You can have no attachments. You've got date and time subject, and message. Now, that's not the email itself. If you want the email itself, it's going to be this one. Now, a little bit of a warning. If you're going to use email as an attachment, you got PDF files, anything attached, that's going to increase your backup for your database because it's going into the attachment folder. And so when that goes into the attachment folder, that can get really huge. We've got some clients, the database itself is maybe under a gig, but the attachment folders can be up to, I've had one client 60 gigs. It's all email attachments. So be careful what you do. We're looking at ways for those of you who use File Manager to manage your documents. We've been testing for a while. We haven't got quite dialed in just perfect yet, but we're looking at adding in our File Manager where you can redirect your attached emails instead of going to that attachments folder so that your database backup is like ginormous. It's actually going to go into wherever your documents are stored. So if your documents are stored, on the server or in a cloud, like maybe you're using OneDrive with SharePoint, then they'll be stored up there, and they're out of the way, and you don't have to worry about it. So we're looking at that, and hopefully in the new year, early in the new year, hopefully Q1, we'll have a solution for you that we can mitigate the size of those databases or size of those backups. All right, let's go to Next. And then here's the same thing. Now, you can record history when you receive an email. And then what you can do, just hang on just for a second, folks. Just 1 second. Oh, sorry about that. All right, so where are we? Here we are. So you can record histories when you receive an email. This is your auto attach. So when you want, if you want it to auto attach when you come in, I personally, now I've had it set up, but I usually select none. Here's the reason why. If I'm having a conversation, let's say with Richard Law here, and I say, hey Richard, how you doing today? And I send an email out, and he sends back one back, says, hey, I'm doing really well. And we just kind of go back and forth in our emails. Guess what? Every one of those emails are going to be attaching, right? So I don't use the auto feature. I want to manually choose the ones that I want to attach to the client's record. Totally up to you. I know some people have that. I personally don't care for that. 2 reasons. 1, again, that size of that attachment folder. And 2, then I need to sift through more information to try to get to where I want to, find that email I'm looking for. I may have to look through, 50 emails because of this back and forth conversation, right? So totally up to you. I'm just saying a little bit of a warning here for you. All right, next one. Email attached. So this one here, again, this is now your inbound email when you select, like if you do a manually select, I want to attach that, how do you want it to attach? Again, the same choices you had on your outbound emails. And remember, the first one I showed you was your outbound emails. All right, so on this one here, you have the same thing, and choose what you want. Now, I've picked attached emails because this is just a demo database, and I really don't care about the size, and I don't get a lot of emails in here. And then you can choose down here to who the sender is, attached to the sender, to the CC. Again, you want to use it on sender. And you've got other choices here, which I don't really mess around with. Create a contact record if not found. Again, I like to make that decision myself as opposed to having the system do it. Totally up to you. Exclude my record from the history. That may not be a bad one if you don't want it attached to your history. I've had some people indicate that they didn't want that. Just a quick shout out here. I'm seeing some spikes on my audio here. Is it too loud? I can turn it down. Just let me know. I'm going to turn it down anyway, and then you can let me know if it's too low. All right, so now we can go through and we're going to go to next. And then the next one here, and I want to bring this one up. This is Outlook meeting invitation. So when you get an Outlook meeting request, if you're not on version 24, build 2, guess what? You're going to have some problems, because you're going to go in there and it's not going to attach properly. And even in version 24.2, you have to set it up a certain way or it doesn't work. They're still working on this. Again, this has to do with ACT working with Microsoft, and Microsoft, well, let's just say this is Microsoft. They're not always play nice when it comes to programming into their environment, at least from what I've heard from ACT. So in here, if you have edit and create activity recommended, what's going to happen, what that means is, so let's just say that, let's say Jason goes in and he goes, hey, Gary, I want to invite you to a meeting this afternoon, and I click yes. What's supposed to happen is it'll pop up and it'll pop up an ACT email, an ACT activity, and then I can just make sure it looks good and then press OK, and it'll put it into my ACT calendar. That is a little glitchy in version 24, and it doesn't work in the previous versions like 23, 22, 21. I think version 20 it worked, maybe 21 it worked, I can't remember. But they've made so many changes that they were having problems with Microsoft. So anyways, what I do is automatically create the activity in default database. Then it just goes in and auto-populates, and that works really, really well. So haven't had any problems with that. I do my meeting request, goes into ACT, Bob's your uncle. So again, you can test around with this yourself to find out what works, what doesn't work. So I'm going to leave mine at auto create, go next, and we're finished. So that's the setup in Act. Now in Outlook, let's go into Outlook. So in Outlook, you have some settings in here as well. Now, I've mentioned this before, and you'll see that I've got my Act buttons up at the top here. That's because I've added them in there. Otherwise, you're going to have to go over, at least in this version of Outlook. The new version of Outlook is the same, but this little, what do they call it, the quick access toolbar is actually located, if you've got the latest build, it's kind of down under here, down under the ribbon. And it took me a few seconds to figure out, well, where did it go and how do I adjust it? And it was actually down here. So I'll show you that next week because I'll update this. So in here, I'm just going to show you this because otherwise what you're doing is you're going to jump into the Act one here, and here's all of the configuration things that you can use or attachment protocols. And I put it up on the quick access toolbar just because I want it more convenient. So let's just go through this first and then I'll show you how to adjust that. Let's see here. So let's go into settings. No, that's not what I wanted to do. I clicked the wrong button. No, sorry. We'll get into that. Change preferences. That's what I'm looking for. So change preferences. This is where you can also make adjustments in here. So auto attach. You can have none, no auto attach, or auto attach when it goes out. And so this is a little bit more confusing to me than the one in Act because it kind of walks you through the wizard a little bit easier. So email auto attach, mark histories private, exclude from my record, notify me each time an email comes in. Yeah, you could do that too, and it's not in Act. That's not a bad one to actually be notified that they're not in Act. And then you've got date and time, or the different protocols for choosing how you want it to record the history, and then automatically create activity. So this is kind of the auto attach. The only thing on this one for me, it doesn't say, is this just outbound emails auto attach, because that does auto attach on outbound emails if you wish. But what about the ones that come back in? Are they auto attaching? So this was a little, when they came up with this, it was like, okay, how does this work? So I set it up in Act, and then this one I honestly don't touch a lot. Quick attach. This is the quick attach button, which is the little lightning bolt up there. See that little lightning bolt? That's the quick attach. And then you've got some settings there as well. So I'll let you mess around with that. Find out what works for you. Test it out in your system and find out what you like. I personally like setting it up in Act. Now it said to close this down and open it up again, which I will do. How's everybody doing out there? Everybody okay? Not very chatty today, guys. Come on. Ask some questions. Throw some comments in there. All right. So we're going to go over here. I'm going to show you how to do this, and then we're going to actually go through the different settings. So if you want to have it on your quick access bar, go down here to show more commands. More commands. And then what you're going to do is go to add-ins. Sorry, that's not it. You're going to go up here, and you're going to go down to the Act tab. And this gives you all of the features. So again, let me just go back here. So you're going to go into here, you're going to go into more commands, you're going to go into this drop down here for choosing the command from, and you're going to choose the Act tab. Now you've got in here, you can see I've already put in, let's see, send and receive, undo, that comes with it. And then we've got attach documents to contact, quick attach, create activity, and create a new contact from the emails. All right, so in order to get those over to the right hand side, let's see if there's one that I don't have over here. I've got everything in there. Well, double click. There you go. There's the address book. I don't really need to put that over there. I'll remove that one. But you just have to double click or click on what you want, change preferences. We don't have that one, so I'm going to add that one over. And then once you're done, press OK, and you'll see that it will add it over. So now if I want to attach this email that came from QuoteWorks, I can go in here, and if I go to attach it, you watch what happens. It's going to give me a little flyout here. This is a quick attach. And so quick attach says, unsuccessful email. They're not in there. So that'll be a thing if they're not in the database. If they're in the database, then it will look like this. See, it'll show right down here, history created. So it tells you if it created the history or not. So you can have some confidence in there. So I see a comment here by Lorene. What does VOI mean? I know what FYI means, but I don't know what VOI means. Voice over IP? No, that's not VoIP. Anyways, do you want to clarify? If you're asking me a question there, Lorene, just let me know if you're asking a question, or tell me what VOI is. I don't know what VOI is. All right. So that's how the quick attach works. Now, if you want to attach it to multiples, click on the paperclip, and what it does is it brings up your database. And so now you can actually type in the person's name in here. So let's say Todd Miller. And there he is, and then I just double click, and that puts him down at the bottom, and then I press OK, and that's now attached to that person's record. That's simple and easy. Now, if I want to add them to the a new contact, I can click on this one, and it will allow me to fill in the information and create a contact for that person, and then it will attach that contact to the person's record. And then the other one here is this is one that's hardly used. Do you see the little checkbox here? Let's hover over that. What does that say? Come on. All right, we'll click on it anyway. This is creating an activity. What I see when I do assessments of companies, or maybe I'm doing a little bit of coaching, I find that they're using their Outlook inbox as a glorified to-do list, which brings me to another thing that we're going to bring up in the new year. We've been messing around with different to-do lists. Now, there's some to-do lists and acts. We're going to be talking a little bit about time management in the new year, and specifically, not the calendar. Like, we're going to be talking about the calendar, maybe if we have time. Next week, we'll go into this a little bit. But there's some strategies that you can use, because ACT does certain things, but some people were wanting a little bit more detailed process stuff, and we've been messing around that internally ourselves. So I want to share what we've done, and maybe something that we've been messing around with will help you. And it's all free. It's all free. All right, so where was I at? Oh yeah. So again, you can create an activity. So what I was saying is that a lot of people use their thing as a to-do list, their Outlook inbox. Create an activity and then delete the email. So create an activity. I'm going to do something with this, or create an activity for someone else, because you can schedule this for someone else. Create an activity and get it off your inbox. Clean your inbox so there's nothing in your inbox. I've got stuff in the inbox in this because it's a demo database. I need to have something to show you. But I work really hard to keep my inbox clean. So I create activities, I move them forward, I forward them to someone else. I'm constantly making adjustments. Here's a question. Is it better to email from the contact record in ACT, or is it better to email directly from Outlook? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I mean, if your habit is to be in ACT, and I'll show you, let me come back to that. Let me just come back to that. So create your activity, press OK, and then blow that thing out of your inbox and have now an action item with it. Because trying to create an action item here, it's not in ACT, you can't track it, but if you put it in ACT, it's going to bug you, right? Now, you had a question about, Jared, about emailing out of ACT or emailing out of Outlook. Doesn't matter. If you're in the habit of pulling up a person's record, let me find somebody who's got an email address. Here we are. If you're used to going in here and pressing email, and then having your email pop up down here, and then I don't have a signature, again, demo database. I guess I should probably do that for the demo. Fill it in, and away you go. Press send, and it's going to attach. It doesn't matter if you do it there or you do it from Outlook. When you do it from Outlook, what it's going to do is whatever email address you use, it's going to go and look in ACT and say, hey, is this in ACT? And if it is, it'll attach. So you can run either from ACT or from Outlook. Doesn't matter, long as you've got the connection. And again, you have to go in and configure that ACT and Outlook are connected. Long as that's done, you're good to go. If you don't have that connection, then obviously if you email out of ACT or out of Outlook, it's not going to work. And even if you do it from ACT, it's not going to work either because it's not connected. So long as it's connected, no problems, no problems. All right. So let's, I think I've covered enough with this. Let's go back to Outlook. I think I've covered enough. Again, utilize these tools up here. Put them on your quick access bar, and just make sure that you're taking advantage of attaching emails. Because now what happens is if I make an attachment, somebody sends me an email, I put an attachment in, and maybe I'm out of the office next week, and one of the guys are covering for me, and a client calls up and says, hey, Gary promised me this. They can go onto that person's record and they can see the email that I sent, and maybe Gary promised something, but maybe it wasn't exactly what they're stating, right? So it's a great tracking record, and it creates synergy within the organization. Now, there's one other thing I need to show you, and this is really important. This is I usually save this for larger companies, but let's throw this out there so you're aware of this. And this is a really important setting, so you'll wanna jot this down if you're kind of writing things up. You'll have to do this as an administrator of the database. But if you go into admin, because you have to be administrator to get in here, you'll see where it says allow history creation for emails sent from a user of this database to another user. Turn that off. Because if let's just say I'm sending an email to HR, and I'm wanting to talk about some disciplinary action for one of our workers, and I send that off. It's if I don't uncheck this, it's going to be attached to the HR person. It's going to be attached to my record, and anybody in my user base, in not my user base, the users of ACT have access to that. So make sure you uncheck that off if you want private stuff sent back and forth between you, coworkers, administrative, partners, what have you. Turn that off so that those emails back and forth are not going to be public to the rest of your team. All right? Press apply, press OK, and that will save your bacon. Question, does ACT need to be running for Outlook to look at it? Ooh, good question. Good question. Just so everybody sees what Richard put there, says, does it need to be running for everybody? And that is a really good question. Jared, can I ask you to reach out to Matt while we're live and just ask him this question, and then you can post back and let us know. I can't remember. I believe the answer is yes, because it's linking to the database, but I'm not 100% sure, especially with version 24, because version 24 just came out a month ago, and we're still kind of seeing all of the things that they've changed. So if you could just check that, that would be awesome. So Jared, appreciate that. All right, so let's any other questions on Outlook before I move on to the next little tip that I want to show you? I'm assuming not. All right, so let's go over. Now, one of the other questions I had was it basically came from our last week's live stream. where people were asking about, hey, data cleanup, I want to send out to all my client base, and I'm worried that I'm going to get a bunch of bounces and that sort of stuff. Now, unsubscribes are different than bounces. Unsubscribes are people saying, yeah, I don't want to hear from you anymore. And in the new year, I'm putting a course on, and it's a very detailed course. It'll be a paid course. It'll be reasonable. But this will be a paid course. And in this course, I'm actually going to show you how you can set up when somebody says, I want to unsubscribe, that they actually have a choice. It's not like right now, or it's actually, I shouldn't say right now, unless you know about this, when they go unsubscribe, they're unsubscribing from everything. Now, you can go back in and put them back if they request, but they're unsubscribing from everything. In the new year, I'm going to be showing a strategy in the marketing automation training that I'm going to do of how when they click unsubscribe, they'll have choices. Do you want to unsubscribe? What do you want to subscribe to? You know, the email list, the da-da-da-da-da-da. You can make choices. So it's not just you're either in or out. It's, you know, what is it you want to do? No, ACT cannot be closed and emails will still attach to ACT. So there you go. There's the answer. So no, ACT has to be open and Outlook open for those to attach. Alrighty. That was a good question. Really good question. All right, so here we go. So in this one, I'm going to show you how to use a product called BriteVerify. Now, not a lot of people are aware of this. I've talked about it before. Oh, okay. Did I misunderstand? Matt, no, ACT can be. Oh, sorry, I said it wrong. No, you're reading it wrong. Hang on. Ah, now I see what you're saying. I was trying to read that without glasses. Okay. Here's the real answer. No, you're reading it wrong. And yes, ACT can be closed. Richard, don't pay attention to the old dude behind the camera. He's not reading this properly. Here's another question from Richard here. All right. For mass emails, do the rules that require permissions to send emails apply to business to business emails? Do mass emails. Now, are you talking about, Richard, using a mail merge in ACT, or are you talking about using ACT e-marketing? Because they're two different things and they're handled different ways. So I'm going to let you guys do that. I'm going to dive into this so I can cover this at the same time, and we'll get back to these questions. This is great, guys. Really appreciate all the questions. And again, I'm sorry I skimmed that response, and I'm going to get a lot of hassle after this live stream on that one. Either mail merge or marketing. Okay, let me get back to that in just a moment. All right, so I want to talk about BriteVerify really quick, and then Richard, I'm going to get back to your question. Jared, if I miss, Jared's he's kind of helping me out here, making sure I'm on track. Obviously, Matt's on here too. So Jared, if I forget to answer Richard's question here, by all means, reach out. Oh, hold it, Matt's already done that. All right, so here's Richard's question. Either email merge or marketing. Okay, so Matt's answer. There is a service that runs in the background that attaches the emails to your ACT database as soon as it's sent. When you open ACT, the email is already there and attached. Cool. I wasn't sure on the ACT. On the marketing automation, the answer for sure is yes. I just wasn't sure on the mail merge. I wasn't 100% on that. So as Matt also says here, so ACT can be closed and not running, and emails will attach as normal. Very cool. Very cool. These are good questions. Thank you. All right. BriteVerify. So BriteVerify is a really I'm just going to let you guys talk on the chat here. You're referring to his other question. Oh, I see what you're saying, Matt. Okay. I'm going to carry on. I'll let you guys chat. For those who are looking for answers and I'm not as fast at the draw, we've got people that are answering them right online there. I'm moving on. All right, so BriteVerify. First of all, let's go to what BriteVerify is. It is a program that will sift through your database and find out if the email addresses are valid or not for sending out emails. Now, most of you, if not all of you, anybody who renewed from, I believe it was May up until April. So if you've renewed your subscription anytime between May of 2021 and now, you have at least Act Marketing Automation Basic. Now, you may have chosen to have, you may have what they call Growth Suite, where you would have actually the next level up, and that just came with Growth Suite. Good for you. That's $1,000 a year price tag that you don't have to pay for because you got in on that special deal. Some of you have the next level up because you wanted more features. That's fantastic. That means you're actually diving in more and more and using the digital marketing. And so one of the things that you'll want to do is, if you're going to be sending out blasts, mail merge will work, but you want to keep those numbers down. We talked about that last week. And so you want to use Act Marketing Automation. But here's how you start cleaning your database. So first of all, I'm going to go over to BriteVerify. Okay, and I'm just going to log in. You can set up an account. It's really cheap. It's like, I can't remember if it's under a penny or a penny for an email address to check. It's really, really inexpensive. So I'm going to sign in. This is my demo account. All right, so you can see here I've done a few little tests with different databases, just messing around. But you can see how this works. It'll actually give you, ones were valid, which ones were unknown, which ones were accept all, and we'll talk about what those are. And it actually gives you data back. And you can see how this all works. Now, here's the problem. What you would have to do is export your database from Act, import it into BriteVerify, run it through the system, export that out, and then import it back into Act. And that just wasn't acceptable. So Matt, the wise programmer he is, he figured out a way to program it in Act so you can just do it inside of Act. And you don't have to mess around with it. So I just wanted to show you what the account is. So what you want to do is set yourself up an account. You create a little balance. I think I threw $25 or $30 in there. It wasn't very much. And that gives you so many credits, and then away you go. So once that's set up, then basically you'll go and look at your list. Now I've got 70 people here. Let's just go to my list view. And we're going to sort it by email address. And we're going to get rid of the ones that don't have email addresses, omit.selected. So here's 40 people. And you can see I've put in a field. Let's just open this up. I've added a field to my database called email verification. So this is where the data comes back from BriteVerify. And once it's in there, then I can be able to sift through the database prior to sending out a campaign. And I can use this as a criteria for people who are invalid not to be in my group. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to Tools. And actually, I'm going to do this from the list view because then you can actually see this work. So there's my email addresses. There's the email verification. And I'm going to clean this database up. So I'm going to go over to Tools. And under... where are you? Email verification. Really simple. Now you'll have to request this tool. Send me an email, Gary@CoreLogics.ca, and I'd be happy to arrange for you. I can't remember if we have this as a separate or if it's part of another application, but we can make sure you get that. I can't remember if there's a cost to it or not, but we'll find out and we'll let you know. With this little verification here is. Sorry, let me get it too. There we are. There's a settings in here. It's really simple. It says, okay, when the information comes back from BriteVerify, you can fill in this field, email verification. So it's going to populate that field. And then you put in what you call your API key, and that connects your account to your ACT database and is able to work. So once you've got that set up, all you have to do is go over here and go verification and just go verify with BriteVerify. There are a couple of other ones out there, but we haven't created connections. Like Unbounce is one. There's a couple of others. I just like BriteVerify. It's really clean and fast, and it does a really good job. And so now when I do this, I can do current contact, current lookup, or all contacts. I'm just going to do current lookup. And so that didn't work so well. Sure, it worked before. Let's try it again. I was messing around, and it's probably something I did. Current lookup. There we go. So there you can see it populating on the right hand side there. It's putting some invalids, accept all. There's a valid in there. A lot of these are fictitious emails that I've put in here. That's why they're bouncing. And you can see it goes through. This is the slickest way to do a quick cleanup of your database to find out, hey, is this email going to go in there? Now there's 4 settings in here. Once this is finished, I'll show you what those settings are. But this is really slick. Okay, so it's all done, and you can see the list there. Now I can use this field now when I create a group. I can say, hey, if they're valid, add them in here. If they're not valid, leave them out. Now there's some in here that we can use that maybe you will make a choice to choose or to use them or not. And so here's the deal. So the quick guide for these responses. First of all, a valid email, obvious is an email account that represents a real account. Inbox is available and at that given domain. So it comes up, thumbs up, and you're good to go. So anything valid when it comes back, you know you can send out to those people, no problem. Invalid, obviously, there's no real email address. As you can see in my list there, there's a bunch of them. Not real, so you would avoid those ones. You're not going to send out to those because what it's going to do is it's going to affect your domain reputation. You're going to get things that are going to bounce back, and it'll say undeliverable, and it will deteriorate your domain reputation. And I'll go into more detail of that in the new year when we do the training. Unknown. And let me just read this verbatim here. For some reason, we cannot verify valid or invalid, meaning it can't tell whether it is or not. In most times, most of the time, a domain did not respond quickly enough. So this may be a valid email address. It may not be because it didn't respond quickly enough. And then the next one, accept all, basically, it can't verify whether the person's email address is active or not, but the domain it's an active domain. And so what I typically do is I will send out to valid and usually accept all. I will do those because at least it's getting a confirmation from the domain. This one here, it's not getting anything really back. So the invalid and the unknown, I usually leave those away. Or leave them alone, but I will do these ones. And then if I know people and I get an unknown for people I know, then I'll accept for those ones, and maybe I'll change it manually. All right. So that is BriteVerify. Hopefully that's helped you with some of the data cleanup. I've had people say, "Hey Gary, I know I'm going to send out to my whole client, my whole database," and I'm going, whoa, put on the brakes. You just set up your account, and you don't want to have them give you a warning or turn you off. And I've seen that with some people where they actually turn off. They say, no, you're spamming people, and they turn them off. So you want to make sure that your target audience is either agreed to allow you to send them emails, or they're what we called implied consent. Now, implied consent means, and you have to, this is kind of a gray area here, you've been communicating over the last 6 months to a year. Anything over that, I'd be really careful, and I would want to, reach out and just say, hey, are you okay if I send you some emails? And there are a lot of ways to get people to accept you to have emails, to be able to send them email blasts. There's a lot of stuff which will be going into strategies again in the training coming up in the new year. All right, any other questions? Looks like Matt's been answering some questions here. Any questions? All right. Anything else you'd like to see in ACT today before we close up? It's just about an hour here. No? All right. So next week, if you can make it, we're going to be talking about calendaring. We'll talk maybe a little bit about time management, depending upon how much time it takes to get through some of these calendaring applications. And it's all in prep for the new year, how you can be more effective and efficient in 2022. Let's see. It's Friday. Looking... I'll send you a virtual beer, Richard. I was actually thinking today it would be fun to have Dave and Doug McKenzie. Remember the Dave and Doug McKenzie on SNL? The Hosers, and have them. That would be great to have them in as guests. I doubt I could do that, but that would be fun. Anyways, so next week, and please. Send me things that you're kind of struggling with in ACT, or the biggest one is, can ACT do this? And sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So I'm going to be showing some stuff with ACT that maybe you didn't realize you could actually do with ACT, and that's going to be some of the Friday, some of the topics that we'll use for our Casual Friday. We'll come up with stuff, but any feedback from you as far as, what you'd like to see, that sort of thing would be really appreciated. And please go ahead and like and subscribe. Click that little bell so that if you forget or you don't see the email I sent, you'll get a little notification that, hey, I'm live, and then you'll be there. And it does help this channel out, and we're trying to grow this channel because we want to get a larger audience to be able to take advantage of the stuff that we're presenting here and some of the insights that we have, and maybe it'll benefit them to be more productive. We got some really cool things that we've been messing around with software-wise that can enhance ACT. And I don't know how much of you guys are using voice recognition, but I use a lot of voice recognition. So we've got a whole plethora of things that we're going to cover on these Fridays. So right now, we're pretty much done for the day. Hope you have an awesome weekend. One more week till Christmas. So actually, 2 more weeks till Christmas. 1 more week, and then we're on holidays. So next week is our last week. Our office is shutting down for a couple of weeks so that everybody can recharge, especially Matt. He's been going like gangbusters, and we want him to chill out and relax. And so we'll be shut down for a couple of weeks, but we will have if you have a emergency, you'll be able to reach out, and we'll talk about that next Friday. Let's see. Oh, you got another question here. Okay, cool. We'll add that to the list there, Richard. Absolutely. Okay, interesting. Okay, so we'll look into that then, Richard. We'll chat about that. Appreciate you guys being here. Hope you have like I said, hope you have an awesome weekend, and we'll catch you next Friday. Keep safe.